I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful waist gathered cowl kaftan. It has a tight waist as well, as you can see. Okay, this kaftan is actually very beautiful, as you can see, and it has a special technique. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Part of this tutorial, I have already folded my fabric into four. I'm using 3.5 yards of cotton fabric. You can use crepe for this. You can also use Duchess for this dress. So here I folded my fabric already into 4 places. So I will place my tape on the folded part, and the first measurement I'm going to take is my waist measurement. My shoulder to waist is 17 inches, and the next measurement is the full length of this gown. So I just added some inches to it, to my full length, like about 4 or 3 inches, because after gathering the waistline, the upper part, the front piece will always go up. So I made allowance for it by adding 3 more inches. So now I'm going to take my neck width. My neck width is 3.5, and my neck depth for the back, I used 2 inches for the neck depth for the back. Next is to connect your points. So after connecting the back neckline, the depth for the front is 4 inches. So I'll connect it to the 3.5 inches neck width. So once we are done with that, we are going to take your shoulder measurements. I'm using 8 inches, that is shoulder divided by 2, and from that point I'm going to measure my desired sleeve line. So I'm using 18 inches as my desired sleeve line. So you can go with any sleeve line of your choice. So I'll just mark that point of the sleeve line, and then go over to the hem and measure my hip divided by 4 plus 3 inches. So I marked my hip divided by 4 plus 3 inches. I got 14 inches in total. So now I'm going to connect from that hem all the way to the sleeve line with a straight rule. So I'll connect all the way sleeve line. So after connecting to the sleeve line, I'm going to create the sleeve opening for this dress. So from that point of the sleeve, I'm going to measure what I have on the arm part. So you just go ahead and measure where the sleeve is going to be. For me, I got 12 inches, so I'm going to mark 6.5 inches. I'll divide it into 2 because 12 divided by 2 will give us 6.5. So I'll just measure 6, will give us 6. I added half an inch for stitching, that is 6.5. Then I will now come out by 1 inch. That will be for the hemming of the sleeve. So next is to cut the sleeve right now. So I'll go ahead and cut the sleeve, as you can see, and just make a little curve to it. So this is what I have after I'm done cutting the dress. This is what you should have too. So after this, I'm going to take the measurement of the waist. The waist is actually at 16 inches, not 17 inches. So I just cross-checked that. So I've marked it again, and I'm going to go in by 4 inches. I will go in by 4 inches from the center front because we want to create the gathers. Then I'll come down by 6 inches. Then I'll just mark a curve, just create a curve that way. So I have 6 inches by depth and 4 inches by width. Then I create my curve. So after creating the curve right now, all this part we are going to gather into it. We are gathering about 17 inches into that 8 inches. That is, when you open it, you have 8 inches. So I will go ahead and cut out only the back neckline. After cutting the back neckline, we are going to, I'm removing my pins, because we are going to separate the back dress and the front dress before we cut open the gathered waistline. So I'll just secure that part with my pins because of the kind of fabric I'm working with. So I'll go ahead and open it up very well before I cut out that circle. So I'm going to cut the front neckline first. You know I cut the back only, so I'm cutting off the front one. Then I'll also cut out the part that will have the gathers on the waistline. So I'll add half an inch for seam allowance. If you come down, you add half an inch. So, and I'll make a notch at the center front as well. So after that, I'll go to my machine to gather the curved parts. So I'm going to gather the curved part right now. So I'll just go ahead. What I have in total is 8 inches. That is what I'm explaining. When you open it, you have 8 inches. So I'll now gather and sew into the 8 inches. That's the plan. So I'll run my stitches right now, my gather stitches. But I thought of increasing the gathers more. I just made it 8 inches. So when you are drafting, you just make the gathers a little more. It's better to have much gathers than less. So the more you go down, the more gathers you have at that point. So I came down by 2 more inches, making the depth of that curve 8 inches instead of 6 inches. So I'll open it up a little more before I go ahead and gather. So I've gathered right now. So I'll just drag my gathers, just evenly drag it, so that by the time you stitch it back to that 8 inches line, it will centralize or just be even. So you can see what we have right there. So I'll go over to my machine now and I'm going to stitch the gathers. So I'll turn it to the other way round and place it this way and stitch right on top of it, as you can see. So after that, this is what I have after I'm done stitching. So this is what it looks at the front right now. So I'm going to sew the neckline using my facing. So I'll first cut the facing. So I'm trying to arrange it so I'll be able to cut my facing. So of course you know how to go about your facing. Just fold your fabric and insert below the neckline. So it has to be on fold like this. Then you secure with your pins. And then after placing it appropriately, we'll now go ahead to cut out the neckline. So I'll now follow the neckline and I'm going to cut it out accordingly. So this is what I have. I'm going to take off my pins right now. Then I'm going to curve the facing. So it will also be nice to indicate a part that is front facing and the part that is on the back facing. So the front facing, I just made a notch to it. I know is the front I notched. I'll also notch the front neckline too. So when I open my neckline, you can see the notch on the dress. I'll place the notch part of the facing too. So next is to pin all around. I'm going to pin everything I have on the neckline before I go ahead to stitch around my neckline. So after stitching, what I did was to notch to ensure that my neckline relaxes nice and flat. So after that, I'll flip all my seams to the facing and top stitch and give it a good press. I even inserted a little hemming gum to make it stabilize. So I'm going to close the dress right now. We are going to sew half an inch and 1 inch. So from the sleeve line, go in by half an inch and 1 inch. So I'm done with it right now. I just place a notch to that part to ease that part. Then I'm going to hem the sleeve this way. Then I will repeat the same process, notch and then hem the sleeve as well. So once that is done, this dress is very much ready. So the next thing we are going to do now is to put the dress together. Put the dress together like this, and then cut out the excess at the back. Of course there will be an excess at the back because we've already ruched or gathered the waistline, so it will just drag the down piece up. So just make sure you cut the excess if there is any one. Now we are done. The next thing is to place an applique. So just get a matching applique and place it either by stitching or any way you know how. So after placing the applique, we are going to sew a waist belt to make the dress tight fitted at the front part. That is the tight waist method. Of course, I know many of us know how to go about the tight waist method. So I turn the dress to the back piece again, and I'm going to get the midpoint. Make sure you mark the midpoint or center front of this dress. So I just got the midpoint now, and I'm going to measure my waist divided by 4 on one side. Mine is 7 inches. I'll mark, and I'll also measure the other way, 7 inches. I'll also measure 7 inches from the other center front and mark. So here is where I'm going to stitch my belt. So you can now go ahead and prepare your belt. So but I just folded my belt this way, and I'm going to top stitch on it. So I'll go over to the machine now, but I'll first secure with my pins. So secure with your pins and go over to the machine and stitch from the back only at the front piece. Okay, so I'll just secure with my pin and stitch only at the front piece, so that by the time you wear the dress with this bubu kaftan, you will now put in your hand under the dress and tie the belt. It's going to give you a very good fit on the dress. So that is how we'll come to the end of this tutorial. Thanks for watching.